Assalamu alaikum. You're watching yet another episode of Healthwise. I'm Dr. Tahira Shahid. Today is the 19th of April and we are commemorating World Liver Day. And do you know that Pakistan is probably the only country in the world where your friend or your beloved is addressed to as a part of your liver or your liver? That proves that we really understand the importance of liver. But unfortunately, even though we call our beloved liver, we don't really take care of our liver. And that is why more than 64 to 70 people per day lose their life to liver disease. Today we have in our studio a very distinguished guest, a hepatologist who's going to speak on the subject. But before we go there, we'll watch a report. Let's move ahead to the report first.
The liver is an organ about the size of a football. It sits just under the rib cage on the right side of the abdomen. Liver is essential for digesting food and ridding body of toxic substances. Liver disease can be inherited and can also be caused by a variety of factors that damage the liver, such as viruses, alcohol use, and obesity. Over time, conditions that damage liver can lead to scarring, that is cirrhosis, which can lead to liver failure, a life-threatening condition. But early treatment may give the liver time to heal. Liver disease can also be caused by hepatitis A, B, and C. Viral hepatitis occurs due to consumption of contaminated food, water, and drug abuse. Liver disease does not cause noticeable signs and symptoms. If signs and symptoms of liver disease do occur, they may include skin and eyes that appear yellowish, abdominal pain and swelling, swelling in the legs and ankles, itchy skin, dark urine color, pale stool color, chronic fatigue, nausea or vomiting, loss of appetite and tendency to bruise easily. To have a healthy liver, eat balanced diet. Select foods from all food groups: grains, fruits, vegetable, meats, beans, milk and oil. Eat food with fiber. Fiber helps your liver work at optimal level. Fruits, vegetable, whole grain breads, rice and cereals can take care of your body fiber needs.
Welcome back to the show. Let's welcome our hepatologist, Dr. Shehzad Amir. Thank you for coming and thank you for joining us. First things first, how important is the liver actually and what are its functions?
Thank you very much for inviting me to this program on this special day. Liver is a very important organ. Many people don't know that liver is one of the heaviest organ of the body. It measures almost 1.5 kg and it has more than 500 functions in the body. It's an industrial area where it works simultaneously as a storehouse, as a manufacturing hub, and as it is a filtration plant where the toxins as well as other toxins are metabolized from the body.
So what we are trying to say is we're trying to tell everybody that it's not just cleansing your body of all the toxins that get accumulated, but is also producing a lot of other substances, right? So what are the substances that the liver produces? For example, we know that all the glucose that we take in gets converted and stored by the liver. Then there's a lot of other vitamins and minerals involved. So could you mention a bit of those? Yes,
in close collaboration with pancreas, it actually regulates the blood glucose level in the body, especially in the month of these Ramzans when we are fasting. The glycogen stores which are inside the liver, these are the extra sugars which normally liver has stored inside the liver, these are released to maintain the blood glucose level in the body.
So now we know all the medicine, everything has to be eventually metabolized by the liver. Coming to hepatitis, I would really like you to highlight hepatitis. Why? Because what happens with us is that, you know, we have actually applied for a visa somewhere, it's a student visa or we are going for Umrah or a vacation, and then right at the 11th hour when we go for our test and the report comes back, it says we are hepatitis C positive, and then, you know, all our plans are just right there. And that is what it is. It's a latent disease that inside you, it's hiding in there, you don't know it's there, and then some 20 good years later it converts into a liver cancer which is much more difficult to treat. So could you shed light a bit on hepatitis C, how it is spread and how we can, you know, how important is its testing, and if somebody is diagnosed, how important it is for them to take the interferon or the course, the 6-month course, and get themselves cleared?
Yes, it's very important. Pakistan is one of the most prevalent, 0.8 and 2.5% is for hepatitis B. It's actually spread by, it is blood-borne disease, and the diagnosis for hepatitis C and B is now very simple. There is a readily available kits and results are within hands in hours.
Why are people scared in our part of the world to get tested? They know that they are exposed to it all the time, syringes or blades or anything. When you go to the parlor, when you go for anywhere, right? It's you could contract it, but people don't want to get tested and they don't get to get treated as well. So could you shed light on that?
It's basically lack of education.
Right.
The major part is lack of education. Now, the treatment of hepatitis C is now very easy. Now, the era of injections, the interferon has gone. Now, there is a 3-month course of direct-acting
Tablets.
antiviral tablets, which are readily available via government programs. It is free of cost. It is easily percent if patients.
And if somebody just leaves it because it's latent, you won't see any symptoms, you don't know it's in there, right? And if somebody leaves it untreated, what happens later? What happens years later to the liver?
Down the line, after 20 years or 25, 30 years, the cirrhosis occurs. Cirrhosis is basically the damage of the liver which starts, and this occurs in 20% of the patients.
Okay, and when you say that the liver is damaged, what are the signs and symptoms that lead to liver damage? We know that yellowing of skin is the jaundice, and then we do know pale stools and dark urine and itching. We get a lot of patients in our clinic that come with this generalized itch all over the body, and they're applying all sorts of steroid creams and everything, and they don't know that the itch is actually due to the liver not being able to detoxify. So what are those symptoms when you know that you are actually going towards liver, liver cirrhosis and failure eventually? What are the
Or
symptoms?
giving or go up with symptoms until and unless it gets
And it's very, very important that you go to a hepatologist then and you get yourself treated. And if you are hepatitis C positive, just take the course of medicine so that you don't become a candidate for liver cancer much later, right? Because a large number of patients, I imagine 64 a day, dying 64 a day is a huge number, and we really need to curtail that. So coming to liver health, what are the things we should do to maintain good liver health? Like what are the things that help us maintain good liver health? The diet or something like that?
The most important is diet as well as lifestyle modification. Diet, we have to take organic foods. We should not use non-organic foods and the things which are used in preservatives.
So preservatives, dyes, coloring, nothing of that sort, nothing packaged or tinned.
Yeah.
All right.
And the second one is the lifestyle and lifestyle modification. You should not this as well.
Fatty liver, we heard this fatty liver. A lot of people have fatty liver. So is it the pakoras and samosas that we are having, or what is it that causes this fatty liver?
Exactly, the excess fat accumulates in the liver, and when it accumulates and their activity is inside the liver, it is the next stage of fatty liver that is called
So what is
MASH.
the diet? Okay, so what is the diet that we should prescribe? A low-fat diet, a Mediterranean diet?
Increase your vegetables in your diets, and of course low-fat diet we should take.
Okay, so you have to take a lot of fruits and vegetables and stay as organic as possible. And by organic, we mean that don't take out anything from the tin or the can or processed meat, but go completely natural. What is the role of some specific herbs, for example, milk thistle and silvermarine that we've heard about, that they're really good for the liver, and they're also found in formulations for liver health?
In liver, but the only thing which comes to the health for the liver is this organic foods and not putting weight.
Also, there's another very important thing with all this self-medication coming in, and with COVID, everybody was following whatever was on the net, and all these groups were suggesting take this many Azomax, take this many Panadols. So how bad is that for the liver? Because it really is. Acetaminophen damages the liver, Azomax or azithromycin damages the liver. So did you get any such cases during this time?
Actually, liver can digest a certain amount of liver toxic drugs, like you mentioned acetaminophen. Acetaminophen, liver can metabolize up to 8 tablets per day with 6 hours intervals. We do encounter with acetaminophen poisoning when people take it in a huge amount with a suicide intent. Antibiotics like azithromycin, until unless your doctor prescribe it.
So it's very important because the liver has to actually metabolize these drugs. So you don't self-medicate because you don't know if your liver is compromised and you're taking Panadol and you're taking Azomax and you're actually destroying it even more than, so it's very, very important that people do not self-medicate, right? So coming to this, let's go to the next topic, and that's about liver transplant, because liver transplant is something that you've pioneered in Pakistan, and you were telling me these very interesting stories of how, the donor has to be from a family, and people are very, very skeptical about donating, whereas the donor doesn't suffer even if he donates because the liver regenerates itself. So could you shed light a little bit on transplant and how the liver regenerates so more and more people can actually donate if a family member is suffering from this, and how successful is liver transplant?
Yes, in fact, liver transplant was not over 8 centers offering liver transplant with the good successful results. Liver transplant is a process where at the end stage liver disease you offer a transplant and save the life. In Pakistan we have living donor liver transplant programs where a family member with first degree or second degree or third degree should donate half of the liver or up to 60% of the liver to his near beloved one. And it's a very successful surgery, and in Pakistan now more than 1400 successful liver transplants have been performed so far.
So you can actually save a life, and especially if that person is your family member or extended family member, donating your liver is not going to harm you in any way because the liver regenerates itself. That is so amazing. It's a blessing of God that it does regenerate, and with the liver transplant you're actually saving another person's life, right? A lot of them with jaundice, and then they are asked to be kept in the sunlight and all of that. So what is that all about? Is that
vitamin D, vitamin E and vitamin K, which play an important and integral part in our normal physiology of the body.
So and a lot of people are alcoholics out there and they have alcohol addiction. So can you please explain a bit as to how alcohol or alcoholism affects the liver?
Yes, at some extent the liver can metabolize alcohol. It is 21 units per week for males and 14 units per week for female. But beyond these levels, the liver cannot metabolize, and the liver then gets damaged.
It's believed to be a toxin for the liver,
Yes.
right? And it's very harmful. The reason why I just highlighted this is because Ramzan is a time when we get to leave all these habits, right? Whether it's alcohol, whether it's smoking, whether it's anything else, even overeating. So we should be actually assigning ourselves these little tasks that even post Ramadan we're going to stick to a very natural oil, mixing all your trans fats and not taking that sort of heavy diet. So what would you suggest that, like, okay, this is the ideal diet that liver patients should follow?
Yes, Ramzan is the ideal period to where we should detoxify ourselves from these toxins. So we should we should not take carbohydrates, and especially these kind of
oily
sweet
carbohydrates or
Yes,
sweets. A lot
and
of sweet, does it damage the liver as well?
Yes, of course, and especially during fasting, when we have done our fasting and our glycogen stores are replenished from the body, and at that time, at the iftar time, we take like ruh afza, and these are actually causing more harms.
Right.
So beside these high carbohydrate, we should not take high fat
So this
food.
time you have to replace that red, colorful, very attractive looking juice on your take a strawberry juice and create some kind of puree or some kind of smoothie, and that's going to prove even better for the liver, I suppose, right?
Yes.
So what else would you suggest? What is your message to the viewers regarding liver health? What should they be looking at? And what about vaccination? Should they get vaccinated against hepatitis B?
Yes, actually against hepatitis B, vaccination is the part of government EPI program. So it is now almost every child is vaccinated, and elderly, they should be vaccinated against hepatitis B, which is a preventable disease.
And every year they should go for screening of hepatitis B and C?
Not every year, it is an index screening.
Okay.
If it is negative, then he is negative.
No, but we are so susceptible to catching it because anywhere, we could have a syringe or we could have a blade or we could have something.
No, it's not like that.
Okay.
You have it is a very low SOPs. So it is not like that we will take it via any food, or it's not a foodborne disease.
No, it's not foodborne, yes, but it is bloodborne, right?
disease.
But why I'm saying this is because in our rural areas, we really don't know if the syringe or the needle is sterilized. So, everybody who goes into a doctor or a quack, I would say, actually gets injected and you don't know if they're suffering. And it's also, is it transmitted from the mother to the child as well?
Yes, there is, although low transmission rate, but vertical transmission is there.
Okay, and what about liver function tests? For example, we hear them all the time, AST and alkaline phosphatase and SGOT, SGPT. So what is their significance and what should they be?
Yes, these are interpreted differently because there are AST and T are raised in different scenarios, as well as alkaline phosphatase or gamma GT to scenario.
But a classical liver function test would include all of these, right?
Yeah.
SGPT, SGOT, and alkaline phosphatase, as well as
bilirubin
as well. And what is the ideal, like if the bilirubin is raised and somebody has jaundice, what is the role of sunlight in it? Because it's always advised that you should go out in the sunlight and vitamin D and all that. So how relevant is that?
No, the
It isn't-
sunlight is relevant in only
Because
newborns with
it's no-
physiological
it's-
jaundice.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's only for that jaundice, only for
physiological jaundice in
only
newborns.
physiological jaundice in newborns. The sunlight is going to help you, and if you have jaundice otherwise, what's going to help you?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, hepatologist, doctor, and you were really amazing. And thank you for giving us all this valuable information on liver. Hope you all had, had a very learning experience out of this. It was World Liver Day, so it's high time we take care of our liver. Thank you so much for watching.